Hi folks, welcome to Set Apart Homestead. This is Travis. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead, which is what we hope to make you or help you along that journey of becoming more prepared, preparing your home for whatever the future holds. Because we live in uncertain times, and even in good times, things can be uncertain and things can happen, and you need to be prepared. So that's what we're hoping to do here. Is just help you get a little bit more prepared in life. So today I want to talk about actually a video that another YouTube channel put out, and I like the guy. I like his stuff. I follow it often. Watch a lot of his videos when I have a chance, and that's Ice Age Farmer. I know a lot of my listeners listen to him also, so if you want to go and find the details of what I'm going to talk about, he's going to have more details on his channel, but I'm going to mention it because it fits with what I wanted to talk about today. And that is about the winter. The last video I released over on Patreon was talking about preparing for winter. And it was talking about also like what you need to do on a homestead to get ready for winter. You know, you got to have the wood if you heat, and make sure you got enough animal food, and all the clothes and the gloves and all that kind of stuff. Winterize your vehicles, that kind of stuff. It's a good time of the year to do that. But also winter is coming in a different way. Not only do we have winter, the next big season ahead of us that we need to prepare for, I believe that there is a winter coming along with that in a more metaphorical sense. And that's where we need to also be prepared. Even in Scripture it talks about it. I believe it's Matthew 24:20 where Yeshua is saying that, pray that your flight does not come in winter. And even though that isn't specifically about what I'm talking about, it does indicate that winter is a bad time for bad things to happen. If you go through tough times and other times of the year, it's tough, but you might be able to make it. So let's say your house burns to the ground. Well, that's awful. It really is. But if it happens in the middle of the winter when it's cold and there's ice and snow and everything, it's just going to amplify the situation. And I fear that that's what we're going into this winter. Some of it, the dangers that come could just be what they are. But I think that there's definitely a manufactured and organized effort to make things a lot worse than what they need to be. And that's really the worrisome part. So in Ice Age Farmer, his video, he talks about an article that the Seattle Times ran talking about the state of Washington and their Department of Agriculture. And they have spent millions and millions of dollars over the last few months stocking up and stockpiling non-perishable food, or food that has a long shelf life. Canned beans, canned corn, peanut butter, things like that. Shelf-stable type foods. And it was shown in the article, and there was also a TV news clip that went along with it, where they had warehouses just packed full all the way to the ceiling with hundreds and hundreds of pallets of food that they have been storing and stockpiling. And they interviewed the head of the Department of Agriculture there in Washington, and he said that they're competing with other states because every state's doing this. He said it's been difficult to buy this stuff because of shortages. So there's a couple of things here, and one of the things he points out is that we've been hearing for months that it's all us preppers' fault that there's been food shortages. We've been going out and hoarding food, and they even mention it in the article that he references. We all know that that's not true. I mean, sure, there's been some panic buying, but us preppers, and we may have been stocking up. Sure, I've been stocking up more over the past few months when we're able to than maybe normal. But that's not the reason why there's shortages. There's shortages because people aren't working. There's shortages because the imports have been affected. Things like the steel needed to make cans and stuff has been greatly affected because of all this government shutdowns and stay-at-home orders and things like that. And a lot of businesses just are not anywhere near up to the optimal level of production. I hear it just about every time I go out and talking to someone. We was at the at the store the other day. There's a little grocery store that we go to, a little locally run grocery store, and there was something there. I can't remember. Oh, I remember now. We were looking for some cans of refried beans, and we don't eat lard, and most refried beans have lard in them, so we get the vegetarian kind. And we have not been able to find those for months anywhere. Everywhere we go, they're out. And so there happened to be an assistant manager standing in the aisle when we were looking, and I said, "What about these vegetarian refried beans?" He says, "I order them every week." He said, and it's been probably 4 months since we've had them in stock. He said, they just don't exist anymore, I guess. So that's just an example. I know that's a really tiny example, but that is what's happening. There is more and more shortages, and while, and this is just my opinion, so let me preface that, it's my opinion. I think in the beginning, when you had the panic buying and the shelves really looked bare, it was because these stores just didn't know how to handle it. Now if you go in a lot of these stores, if you really kind of pay attention, the shelves don't look as bare. There's usually still bare spots, but the shelves look a little bit more stocked. And what I think it is, because I've noticed it several times, it's not that there's necessarily a whole lot more food. They're filling in those bare spots with things that they just happen to have. We were looking at one day at a grocery store at the tomatoes, all the different types of canned tomatoes. And instead of having all the variety that they once had, they only had just a few different options, but they had a lot of those. And then all the other types of options that a person might get or used to be able to get was gone. Same way with soup. We noticed that with soup. The soup section looked to be fairly stocked. It wasn't deep stocked, but then when we got to looking, there was only really just a few options. So I think there's a little bit of manipulation there, and I don't know, I can't say for certain if that's coming down from the government all the way down, or if it's just corporations saying we need to make our shelves look a little bit more, full. But the point is that we're not really any better off when it comes to the shortages. There's many reports out there of shortages still going on, canned foods, aluminum can shortages, glass bottle shortages. It's just happening everywhere. And for months now, this report that Ice Age Farmer, and he mentions it in his video, that was the only article he could find specifically about that, where states were stockpiling large amounts of food. And it only mentions Washington State, but in the interview, the head of the Department of Agriculture there said that they were competing against other states and other federal agencies that were doing the same. So that's good indication that probably every state is doing this. And then just before and in the beginning of this pandemic, there were a lot of reports, some of them in the news, and some of them were just personal people that were just saying, hey, this is what's happening in my area, of federal agencies going around and buying up large amounts of beef cattle. There were reports of, and I've talked about it in videos before, where they went by and they would just pull up to some guy's cattle ranch and say, what do you take for them all? The whole thing. The company that I work with, that I sell freeze-dried food, which is preparewithtravis.com, a little shameless plug there. They were sending me information back when they were really struggling to keep up with the demand, saying that part of it was because of obviously people buying a lot, starting to buy a lot of freeze-dried foods, number 10 cans, all that kind of stuff. He said, but the government was buying. He said that them and a few other companies were getting calls from Department of Homeland Security wanting prices on entire, semi-truckloads of freeze-dried foods. This has been happening for a while. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, the government does that all the time. And that's true, they do. The government is the biggest and, coolest prepper ever, right? They stockpile everything. And we've been hearing about the stockpiling of masks and other PPE and ventilators and all that kind of stuff. And they've been stockpiling ammunition, apparently, because there's lots of reports coming out, some I've mentioned on this channel, of the government, buying. I mean, they always buy lots of ammunition, but it seems that they're buying a whole lot more than normal. The volume that they're purchasing over the last few months far exceeds. Let me get the right words out. Far exceeds what they would normally purchase. So what's happening? I don't have the specific, exact, precise answer, but I think there's two things at play right now. I think number one, they're taking advantage of the situation to create a situation. They are, these governments are state, local, federal agencies. They're purchasing large amounts of food, of supplies, ammunition, things like that. And ammunition's probably keep it out of our hands, because I've heard rumors of these anti-gun agencies, organizations doing the same. But we won't go into that. So there could be an effort to create a bigger kink in the supply chain. So if they're purchasing tens of millions of dollars of food and stockpiling it, that means that there's less for us when you go to the grocery store. So it creates this panic. So then we believe that the virus and the pandemic and the whole disruption of society is even worse than it is. That's probably one thing. Okay. The second thing is, they could very well be onto something, and I think they are. Not just the manufactured what they're doing. I think that they know. Leading into the election, leading into the winter, we haven't been talking about it for months, but we're still into this grand solar minimum, and I still wonder and feel that could affect us. There was an article just this week that there's some large sunspots forming on the surface of the sun, and they're expecting some large, CMEs, possibly CMEs, but at least some radiation, some solar flares coming out of that. That is what we've mentioned before on here. That is normal during a grand solar minimum. That kind of builds up pressure more. There's less activity, but the activity that happens is much more grand, and it looks to be that's going on. And the article was from a major news agency saying that people get ready, that it could disrupt radio, cell phones. It could even disrupt the grid. What they're seeing on the surface of the sun. So there's a lot of things going on, and I think governments know. They know more than we do. They're privy to information that you and I have to speculate and dig around for. So between them hoarding food to create a situation and knowing that there's just some things down the road that's happening, whether it's civil unrest, even manufactured civil unrest, a virus that's worse, a vaccine that's worse than the virus, things happening with the sun, whatever it is, there's definitely, they're definitely getting ready for something. In the article that Ice Age Farmer mentions, that's what the guy's talking about, that, hey, we're getting ready. This Department of Ag head, he's saying, we're getting ready because, we feel that times are going to get, even worse ahead. And so I'm saying all that. Man, it's sun shining and it's raining on me. Gotta love the Ozarks. I'm saying all this to say, which I know I say it all the time and I sound like a broken record. I'm sure some of you get tired of me saying it because I get tired of me saying it. But sometimes that broken record needs to just keep playing. And this is one of those. You guys got to keep stocking up. I don't want to sound like some crazy doomsdayer. I don't want us to talk about, Chicken Little, sky falling, the world is ending. I don't want to create panic. But like I've said before, if something doesn't happen that's really, really bad out of all the things that's gone on, we have, as a people, as the government, as the people that rule the world behind the, curtain, that kind of stuff, they have missed their opportunity. Because everything is setting up. It's like the biggest, worst, best, whatever chess game ever. That board is being set up for something really bad to happen. And I don't know, because I just don't, how that's all going to end or how it's all going to look. all I can tell you is we have to start getting ready. And you may say, well, I've got buckets. I mean, I'm not going to tell you details of my stuff because, well, I'm not going to tell you it's operational security. But we have a lot of stuff in buckets and things stored. But we're still adding to it all the time. Every chance we get, we as a family have agreed that any extra money we have, we put it towards that. We've cut back in other areas of spending that we just are extra things that we don't need, and we've put that money all towards prepping. And that may be buying food, that may be doing things on the farm to get it, even more ready. Whatever it is, buying a tool that could be, very helpful, doesn't matter. We have put, just about everything into that because we know that it's getting bad, and we have this feeling that it's going to get really bad. And governments are doing it. They're stocking up. See, look at the sun. Sunshine. I'm standing in the shade. Sun's shining and I'm getting rained on. Gotta love it. Governments are getting ready. They've been doing this for months, and it's like they're ramping up their prepping. And if they're doing it, there's been articles of billionaires and the elites are doing it, that they've been getting their bunkers ready and their getaway bug out places ready. If these people that have the means, and not just have the means, but are probably a little bit more in the know than you and I, if they're doing it and we're hearing about it, then that's a really good sign that we need to get ready. Because everything on that chessboard is setting ourselves up for a catastrophic event. And it may not happen all at once. It's probably not going to be some big boom. There's the big event. It's going to happen over a period of time. It's just going to gradually get worse. They want to cook us in the skillet like a frog. So they're not going to turn the heat up really fast. It's just going to gradually keep getting worse. Our rights are being chipped away constantly. I'm seeing, all over the world. Australia seems to be, completely totalitarian regime now. I saw a video of a police officer, very aggressively handling this woman and arresting her because she wasn't wearing a mask. There was a city council person, I think, in Nashville, Tennessee, saying that people that don't wear masks should be arrested and charged with attempted murder. I mean, it's getting crazy out there, folks. And if we don't do everything we can to stock up and to get ready, man, I don't know what to tell you. And I see people in these groups online, and I'm running out of time, but I see people in these groups online, and they're just getting started. They'll show like, $20, $30 worth of food. It's like, I'm starting prepping. This is what I'm starting with. What do you guys think? It's small, okay? That's what I think. It's small. But you know what? Your effort is commendable, and you need to keep at it. You need to, if you need to cut out the coffees, going to Starbucks or whatever, if it's changing a cell phone plan, if it's, not going out as much, whatever it is, you need to put all your efforts into stocking up. And yes, there's ways to do it. There's videos you can find on here. If you need some advice, shoot me an email. I'll do the best I can to advise you. If you're looking for freeze-dried food, preppingwithtravis.com. But you need to get ready, because if all the people in the know, if they're all stocking up like crazy, then something's heading our way, folks. All right, go check out Ice Age Farmer. Guys, I don't know him personally, never communicated with him at all, but he puts out some really good content. Man, my tongue, this entire video. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.